Okay, so now hopefully you have gone and read through this text twice. The first time you read through the text, you went and you put in the three big questions and had a discussion about that. And then this last time, after watching us expound upon the signposts so that you'd have a clear idea of what signposts were, you've gone and noted the five nonfiction signposts that could possibly show up. And I think all five pretty much present themselves in this article, which is the majority of the reason why we chose it. Yes, it's topical. Yes, it's a bit controversial. We're not wanting to get political with this. We really just want to look at this for the text that it is, because as we open things up to student choice, they're going to bring things that are charged from time to time. So we kind of need to be prepared for that. But looking at this news ELA article that we found, what were some things that jumped out to you guys as you read it as far as signposts?
Well, I think the first things that jumped out to me were the couple of the different contrast and contradiction examples.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, and every time I will steer away from it, I can't find it again when I'm going back and finding it. It's towards the top of the article, second paragraph in the demands beyond the classroom section.
Okay.
Students have fought to change the education system before in American history. However, this moment is unique in several ways. And so the author is using that contrast to show how this is different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an important statement in that section of the passage.
Good.
I agree. Some of the numbers may not pop up, as like charts or whatnot, but the fact that they've included these students' ages.
Mm-hmm. 17-year-old.
Yeah, how young they are.
Uh-huh.
I think is something that students could definitely pick up on. And a little further down, under the American schools are slow to make changes.
Yep.
3 paragraphs into that, it says that just 5 years ago, it described the millions transported from Africa to America between the 1500s and 1800s as quote unquote workers. And, just having students really stop and think about what does millions of people being transported in a very short time in our history, what does that look like? What logistics were involved in it? How was that transport accommodated as far as, the people that were being transported? I'm sorry, I'm kind of talking in circles, but for me, that's another big one where they could really stop and just sit on that one for just a minute to really think about it. So.
And that one, this is another thing that you should probably notice and note is that this particular signpost has 2 signposts in it, right?
Yeah.
Because when you look at that sentence, yes, it's front loaded with numbers, but you get to the back of that sentence, they say they're described as workers, which is in quotes, and not people enslaved and brutally oppressed, which is extreme in the language that they're using. And there's a reason the author did that. And I think there's a lot of conversation you can have around that.
Well, and really, if you want to get picky, there's 3 different signposts there, right?
Oh, okay.
Like once you factor in the numbers, you factor in the extreme language, and it's a contrast.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot happening in that sentence.
So does that mean I win? Right?
What did you say?
That means I win. I got.
No, yeah, that's a really good example. I really think that's big.
And you back away and you hold up the 3 as that goes, as you drain that, right?
Yeah.
I also like the quote at the end of that section.
Mm-hmm.
For quoted words. The only thing we hear about African American history is slavery and the civil rights movement. Mm-hmm. We existed before slavery. And so there's that's a big statement for the position that's being taken in this section. Mm-hmm. And so, they even qualify Amoa, the student that's giving that, is a Black student. There's a sense of pride and a sense of responsibility there.
Yeah.
And so I think that provides a good context. This isn't just some random person who's asking to do this. It's someone who is invested.
Great. Let's see. So we've hit everything but word gaps at this point. Even with the one, we hit 3. So.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it's worth pointing out, not every passage is going to have every signpost.
Absolutely.
There are definitely words in here that I think some students may struggle with. I think the language in this passage is more accessible than a lot of other passages could be.
I think it's still important for teachers to plan for possible word gaps. I mean, you know your students, and they're still going to surprise you with not understanding words that you really thought they would. So really planning out ahead. You know, I pulled out a word at the very end for hindrance, only because it's one that's not, you know, used all the time, but many of your students may already know. But again, like Jordan was saying, you're not going to see all of the signposts in every article, but you can definitely plan, you know, ahead of some things that you think they might struggle with.
Absolutely, and differentiate, because we may know like 90% of my kids probably know this word, but I know these two that are struggling with lots of words. I need to be prepared to scaffold and support them and talk about why these words are important in this particular article. So, do you think we could have some good conversations just over the pieces that we pulled out if we were to have like group conversations in our class, or a Canvas discussion, or breakout rooms?
I think so.
Okay. All right. So hopefully you found some of the same things as you went through this article and marked it up or participated in the Padlet yourselves. And do encourage you to go kind of bookmark that Padlet and be able to go back to it and think about maybe some things you don't notice or you didn't notice and note the first time you read the passage. But also notice that your students, once they know the signposts, will start to notice things that you don't. Like when kids bring really useful questions to class and they look at it, giving them the freedom to say, these are the things that I took note of and would like to talk about in discussion, can be really useful for all those critical thinking skills we want them to have. And all those listening, speaking, all that's in the early part of our new standards. All right. All right, well, we will see you on the fiction side in the modules later. And thank you for getting through this part.